welcome to another episode of Toku Show DX. I am SentaiSeiya, and with me is the Kamen Rider Gills to my Agito.
Josh Reed,
Yeah.
also known as Jmann.
Yay. I don't think I actually said my name, so I'm Luis, for those who don't know. So, we got quite a bit to talk about today. Got some news and reviews and shows to talk about, so let's jump in.
Right into Toy Talk. Alright guys, the first bit of news that I want to talk about is we finally have pictures of the NECA 7-inch Godzilla. This is the 1994, also known as the Heisei era Godzilla. And for $22.99, this thing looks pretty much fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
I was not expecting it to look as gorgeous as it did.
I mean, obviously it doesn't have as much detail as the Bandai version, the monster arts. The scales aren't as detailed, but they did a good job with what they have and the price point. One thing I really like about this version over the monster arts version is that some of the cuts are done a little bit better. They're not as noticeable.
Mm-hmm.
They blend in a little bit more with the figures. So, yeah, I love it. I mean, for $22, you can't go wrong. Although it is NECA, so
Yeah, we'll just
maybe
have to wait and see.
yeah, so maybe you can go wrong for $22. Hopefully it doesn't fall apart like some of the other NECA pieces. But it looks good. They boast 30 points of articulation.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not quite sure what the Bandai version has. Probably a little bit more than that.
Everything that should move on the Bandai version moves. Even if it's not supposed to move, it'll move.
Mm-hmm. And this one too, I mean, it looks like it's got tail articulation, knees, thighs, all over the place.
It looks like it looks like it would move everywhere it would need to for Godzilla.
And so I think NECA is starting to do the old Godzilla figures now. Basically, that's where they're going forward with the line. So hopefully this sells well enough and it doesn't fall apart, and we see more of these releases.
You can bet that we'll have a review on the site like within a week of these things being released. So,
Yeah. All right. So next up is the SH Figure Arts Kamen Rider Hibiki from Kamen Rider Hibiki. So first and foremost, this thing looks great.
So shiny.
Yeah.
Super shiny.
Yeah. Just awesome. Great design. You were saying earlier that you love the Hibiki designs from the show.
Mm-hmm. I like watching Hibiki. That was the one thing that I loved about the show. Some of you may know the story behind Hibiki, but the reason why these guys do not look like traditional Kamen Riders is because it was not supposed to be a Kamen Rider show until partway through a development.
Mm-hmm.
That's why they don't refer to themselves as Kamen Riders at like any point.
And also the story behind this too is they're going to take a break from doing a Kamen Rider that year, and Bandai was like, no, we need a Kamen Rider. We have to sell toys. So they put this show out, and I mean it's got the belt thing going where that kind of plays into it, but he doesn't actually transform with the belt. It's actually like a weapon. It's a big old like
Tuning
drum
fork.
Yeah, the tuning fork is the transformation device. So it's a big departure from a Kamen Rider show because it really isn't a Kamen Rider show except in name.
Yeah, and it had a really weird production cycle because partway through the writers left the show, and so they had to hire new writers, and so at that point, the show completely changes directions, and it just, I don't know. By the end of it, the story goes that they were rewriting the final episode as they were shooting it, so the show is kind of a jumbled mess towards the end.
Yeah. We can talk about that show when we do a recommendation for Hibiki, I think.
We're not going to do a recommendation on Hibiki. Well, okay, we might.
No, we'll do we got to do our journey through the decade.
Okay, we'll do that.
Hibiki is part of that decade.
It is a part of that decade.
Yeah. I mean, there's good stuff about the show. It's not a complete mess.
Oh yeah, like it has some really great concepts. Like, Kamen Rider Todoroki and Zanki are like amazing. Just the whole musical aspect of the show is awesome. The designs are killer. Like, I've always loved the Hibiki designs, and so this is something that Is it up for pre-order? Do you know if it is?
It is up for pre-order actually. I don't think it's coming to the U.S. I checked out Big Bad Toy Store; they don't have it up,
Mm.
and I'm guessing this is a show that has more like Asian appeal. So
Yeah,
you would pick this up at like Hobby Link Japan and stuff. Unfortunately, they are sold out of pre-orders.
I waited too long.
Yeah,
I didn't realize it was up for pre-order yet.
yeah, it went up like a day or two ago, and it's
Ah,
already sold out. But I mean, if you can find it for pre-order, get this guy. Actually, I just pre-ordered mine like 10 minutes ago, right before we started recording, so I'm getting one.
that's good.
Yeah, cool. And that's it. Kamen Rider Hibiki. He's finally getting the figure arts treatment.
Finally, I think at this point we're all caught up with the Heisei Riders, aren't we?
Yeah, that is kind of interesting too. Is like the Heisei writers are getting renewal versions, and he is just now getting his first, entry into the figure arts line.
Well, in his defense, no one really cares about Hibiki,
Yeah.
and so they didn't want to spend any money, doing anything for it, especially after the SIC Kiwami Tamashi's shelf warmed the Hibiki versions. Like, you still find those on like Hobby Link Japan and stuff like that
Yeah.
on super sale where they're like, please, $2, you guys can have this.
Take it off our hands.
Yeah, and
Yeah, I
nobody
think
wants them.
some of the armor stuff is out there too. The
Yeah,
Shochaku Henshin, yeah. So, I mean, this is selling pretty well. I think there's enough people that like the design that they're making it worth Bandai's while. So, like I said, if you want one, pre-order it now.
yeah. All right, guys, so that'll be it for our news, and so let's pop on over to reviews.
First off, we have the Black Ranger from Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. Another review by Jmann.
Whoa, look at that. It's
Yeah.
awesome. Reviews.
So, from what I read, you like this figure? I mean, it's your standard figure arts, right?
Yeah. I mean, if you have gotten any of the other Mighty Morphin Power Rangers figure arts, this is exactly the same. And I'm totally cool with that because it's great.
Yeah. Different color, different helmet, slightly different, height, but
Yeah. And in some cases, it actually comes with accessories from figures that we already have.
mm,
Like, it comes with the Power Sword and a couple of parts from the Power Lance.
but that's for something else completely, right?
Yep, that's for something else entirely. They have little special tabs in them.
So, if you're a fan of Power Rangers, obviously you can probably figure out what they're for.
It's for the Power Blaster gun thing. I think it's called Power Blaster.
You spoiled it for us.
I spoiled it at the end of the review anyway. I was all like, ooh, and this is for something special that you'll find out later. And literally 2 seconds later in the review, I'm like, it's the Power Blaster. That's what it is.
Yeah, so we only have a couple left, right? In the line.
Yeah. At this point, we only have yellow and blue, and we are done with Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. Or so we are told.
Yeah, they'll probably do some variants or something.
They're probably going to release a 2-pack with Black Ranger with the Dragon Shield and a shieldless Green Ranger and make it a Comic Con exclusive.
That is true. That's right around the corner, isn't it?
Yep.
Time
I got
flies.
really specific there, didn't I?
You did. So this was brought to us by Bluefin Distribution. They're always really cool to us. Let us checking out the new Power Rangers figure arts and all that kind of cool stuff from them. So, pick it up from Big Bad Toy Store, the Toy Source, or anybody else that carries Bluefin products. I think in Japan it's pretty much sold out, right?
Oh yeah, not to mention it was a web exclusive.
Oh, it was one of those. Yeah.
All of the later Zyuranger figures, aside from Green and Red, have been web exclusives.
Okay.
And so these are being brought over as mass releases in the U.S., so, I mean, Bluefin's doing good to us.
Yeah. Well, and part of that's because, there's such a huge Mighty Morphin Power Rangers fan base here in the States. I think the Americans actually like Power Rangers or Zyuranger more than the Japanese do.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the only reason why we're getting a full team is because Americans wanted a full team. Especially Die Ranger, while, it's fairly popular and everyone's just like, yeah, it's cool and whatnot. Pretty much the only reason why they even made a Kiba Ranger figure was because everyone wanted a Mighty Morphin White Ranger figure in the U.S., and so they were literally just catering to us at that
Makes
point.
sense. And plus, he was an Akiba Ranger, so they tied it into that for the Japanese market.
Yeah.
It was like, hey, remember that one, Ranger from Die Ranger?
That
And
one annoying kid.
Yeah,
Remember that one
yeah,
time we had a kid who became a ranger before they did it in, Power Rangers Turbo?
yeah. And he was like a perv, and yeah,
He was super weird.
yeah. Eh, Die Ranger had weird
It's
characters
like,
though.
come on, kid, stop looking up people's skirts.
Yeah. And that was a kids show.
Yeah, I'm like, you have to protect the world, not look at panties.
Yeah. It was a PSA for Japanese school children, you
Yeah,
know? Don't be pervs.
yeah, don't be pervs. You're gonna get slapped, and then
Yeah.
get superpowers, turn into an adult, and be a superhero.
Yeah. Use all kind of weird attacks. Like summon rock groups and that kind of stuff. So anyways, we're getting off topic.
No one's gonna get any of that. We'll have to recommend Die Ranger at some point so people can at least get into the conversation.
Yeah. All right. And so the review ends with some craziness, like always.
It's one of my reviews. I have to do
Yeah.
something.
Yeah. You expect it. All right. So that's it for that review. Jumping on to Kamen Rider Ryugen Budo Arms, or Grape Arms, in English.
Grape arms.
Yeah. So, another review by Seningi. I don't think we figured that one out yet, have we?
I just call it Sininji, and then
Seningi?
sometimes I call it Siningi.
Okay.
He still hasn't corrected us.
Yeah. So,
Sininji, email us at PowerToku at CollectionDX.com and tell us how to pronounce your name.
yeah. We're on staff. We could easily just, like, shoot him an email or something.
Shut up.
If we wanted to be proactive about this.
If he really cares about us pronouncing his name correctly.
Yeah. Or his screen name. So, anyways, this is from the Arm Change line. And the whole gimmick to this, as we mentioned before, is that you have these base figures, and then you slap a fruit on top of it, and that becomes the weapons and the armor for the rider. So, Ryugen's base form is got that Chinese motif going. It's like a Chinese, fighting suit or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And then you toss on the grapes.
Toss on the grapes.
Yeah.
Fold everything down.
Yep.
And there you go.
So, like he said, like in the other reviews, these are great little figures. They run about $30, give or take. So, like we were saying, these are kind of like the replacements for the figure arts, the base figure arts, a bit. These have been selling out a lot. I've been looking at different retailers to see if they have them in stock, and
No one has them in stock.
no, at least not him. And the reviewer does mention that this guy goes for about twice the retail price now if you want to get them. So these are definitely figures that if you want, you see a pre-order up, you just jump on it. Don't even think about it twice.
You have to jump on it because if you don't pre-order it, you won't get it. And that's just, this line is ridiculously, like, everyone is into this line. Even people who were hardcore SH Figure Arts fans who are just like, no figure can surpass an SH Figure Arts. As soon as this line came out, they just jumped on it and ate it up. And, I mean, you can see why. These figures are fantastic.
Yeah. I mean, obviously they're not going to be as detailed as the figure arts, but they've got enough paint applications and, enough detail and enough play value that, these are awesome.
Yeah, they're fun to play around with. They got just enough articulation, just enough paint, just enough pretty much everything, not to mention the added ability to switch around armors and stuff like that, as you can see here. It's pretty awesome.
Yeah. And that's something you can't do with the figure arts line. So, I mean, you got collectors getting these. I'm pretty sure kids are getting these. So,
Everyone's getting these.
yep.
Everyone wants them.
You got to compete with everybody when these go out for pre-order. So yeah, I mean, he said it was a good figure. The articulation was a little bit limited with the armor on the chest just being as bulky as it is, and the skirt, limits a little bit of the lower leg movements. But other than that, a great review, great pictures, and some funny stuff at the end, like always.
I love this picture.
Yeah. Actually, after I read his review, I checked out his Flickr account. He's got a ton of great pictures.
Oh yeah, he's a great photographer.
Yeah.
He knows what's up.
So, I mean, if you like his reviews, check out his Flickr account. You can find it by clicking on his username. He's got a ton of pictures from Kamen Rider. He's got some landscape pictures. He's got a lot of cool stuff on there. Yep. Alrighty. And that's my piece for this. Gokai Machine Set 04, Forai Maru. And so this is kind of time. Yeah. So this is kind of timely, now that we're watching Super Megaforce. I mean, he hasn't shown up yet in that, but this is from Gokai-Oh. And so some of the ground powers allow the Gokai-Oh to get new mechas. And this is one of them, Furai Maru, based off the Furai Maru from Hurricaneger. So, it's a great little toy. I mean, comes with that pinwheel. You can spin it around and stuff. And
Pretend you're summoning wind.
yeah. And so this is the original Furai Maru from Hurricaneger. The proportions were a little weird, but they fixed that for the Gokai-Oh release. It's a little bit more proportionate. Doesn't have those huge bulky legs.
Mm.
And so the gimmick with him is that he's got those little blades on his hands and in his feet, and you press the buttons and they extend out. And some more pictures. I took quite a bit.
Yeah, look at these. Did we mention that this is a review that you did?
Yeah, it is a review I did. So
ta-da! It's a super. I was about to say Super Sentai.
It is a Super Sentai review.
Yeah, well, it is a Super Sentai review, but it is a SentaiSeiya review.
Yeah, and so there you have, when you press the little buttons on the shoulders and on the knees, you get the blades popping out. But that's not all it does. The Gokai-Oh gimmick was that you can tuck them in into the arms and the chest and the legs of the figure. You turn the little wheel at the back, and ta-da! Stuff pops out at you. And so here we have the shurikens popping out. And the same shot of pinwheel we saw earlier. Cool thing is you can spin the pinwheel, you get that nice little effect going. So, I mean, it's a fun release. I know some people are complaining that when the Furai Maru comes out of the chest, the emblem is a little small, compared to when you see it in the show, and that you have that gap in the chest, but I just overlooked it. I mean, it's a fun little toy. It does what it needs to do. So this was the Bandai Asia release, and one thing about those is that you get a Ranger key with them. It's a Gashapon key, you put it together, you put the stickers on.
Did it not come with the Bandai Japan release?
No, I don't think the Bandai Japan releases have any of the keys with them. Huh. So it's a special thing for Bandai Asia. And so this release, besides coming with the key, it's fully compatible with the Bandai of Japan release because it pretty much is the Bandai of Japan Furai Maru. So anyways, this is compatible with the Bandai of Japan Gokai-Oh figures, or toys. So I mean, it's great. Same quality you would expect from Bandai Japan, plus the Ranger key. So we will be checking out some more Gokai-Oh stuff, the Bandai Asia releases, in probably next week's episode, right?
Yeah, it'll be next week's episode.
Yeah, so this was brought to us by the Toy Source.
You can kind of see it in the background.
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah. So, brought to us by the Toy Source. They got a whole bunch of stock of the Bandai Asia toys, and so they're great. I mean, they got great prices on them. Can't really beat them. I've seen these go up on eBay, but you pay crazy prices because those come from China. So, the Toy Source has free shipping after $150. So, I just went crazy and I bought a whole bunch of these figures.
So this is a really nice release. Looks cool. Something that if I ever decide to finally pick up DX Gokai-Oh, this is probably something that I'll definitely pick up.
Mm-hmm.
So an excellent review, great pictures, beautiful words by the always beautiful SentaiSeiya.
Yeah, I try to stay beautiful. Alrighty.
Despite the fact that we were threatening to take you out and beat you with a baseball bat last episode.
That is true, yeah. Alright, that's because we're jealous of him.
Yeah.
Alright. So that's it for reviews. Let's jump into showtime because we're finally catching up with most of the shows.
Most of the shows.
Yeah. We do what we can, people.
Okay, so the first show we are going to be talking about is Power Rangers Super Megaforce. We decided not to talk about it last week since it was the first part of a two-parter that is introducing the Silver Ranger. These two episodes were called Silver Lining, parts 1 and 2. And basically, all it is just laying the groundwork so we see who this Silver Ranger is, what his whole deal is, and where he came from. The first part of the two-parter was basically just the Rangers trying to run around and find out who's been defeating all the bad guys. Them like, oh, someone got here before us and beat everyone up. What's going on? And then towards the end of the episode, they, find out that there is in fact a Silver Ranger. And then in the second part, in part two, he goes into his backstory. He is from a planet that was destroyed by the Armada, and he is able to take out one of their ships with a slingshot.
Yeah. It was a hard material, though.
Yeah, I guess.
Yeah, I know. That was kind of a hokey part in this show.
It's
Like, really?
we should just make slingshots, give them to everyone on Earth. In 2 days, the Armada would be dead.
Yeah. Yeah.
But anyway, it was, he was a miner on his planet. This is all stuff that was like completely made up for the Power Rangers. And so it was really nice to see all of this extra footage and, how they introduced the Silver Ranger. He was a miner on the planet, and he was able to find, his morpher and his key. Like, he just happened to strike it. It was
conveniently. Conveniently 1 week before the Armada attacks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so he becomes a Silver Ranger, flies to Earth, and now he has a super vendetta against the Armada.
So it was just kind of like, here you guys go. You have a Silver Ranger. I mean, the other Rangers just kind of accept it. Like, don't even question the fact that they have a new guy joining the team.
Yeah, I wish they would have given a better explanation for the Q-Rex Megazord. Because later on, he's like, Orion, you have unlocked the Q-Rex Megazord. And they were like, I think they briefly mentioned Time Force, like in a one-off comment. They're like, oh, it's from Time Force.
Yeah.
But I wish they would have at least had like a Quantum Ranger in suit. It didn't even have to be really him, of him just like handing over, the keys or whatnot.
But they've been pretty much doing that for all the mechas, though. It's like, all right, you've unlocked this mecha and this mecha. They haven't really done what they did in Gokai-Oh, where somebody showed up and said, hey, here's a power, here's how you use it, and then, have a mecha now.
Yeah, but I mean, the whole point about the Q-Rex Megazord is that it's supposed to be like a real rebuilt Quantosaurus Rex. And so, I think, it would have been nice to see some kind of special, handoff saying, this was my Megazord, but this is yours now.
Yeah, and they also don't explain how the 3 keys, fit into the Q-Rex, how we have the Jew Ranger, the Abba Ranger, and the Time Force one.
The Dino Thunder, Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, and then Time Force.
Yeah. So they don't really explain it. He just uses them, and they just go with the flow, really.
In Super Sentai, it's because they're all dead.
Yeah.
Spoilers!
Yeah.
Spoilers from a show 20 years ago, a show 15 years ago, and a show like 9 years ago.
Yeah. I think in the American versions, they just kind of retire the characters, right?
They didn't even worry about it because they were using completely new. They weren't using like any of the footage from Japan except for like the robot fights. Yeah. So they pretty much did their own thing. So they didn't have to kill off anyone.
Yeah. All right. So I think that's all I have to say about these episodes. I mean, they're pretty straightforward. All right. So let's jump into Super Sentai. All right. So let's talk about some ToQger. We're going to talk about episode 7.
Yeah, we're not going to talk about episode 8 because as of this recording, it hasn't been subtitled yet. So I said we were going to be talking about 2 episodes this week, but, we're not.
That's all we have, yeah.
We'll do it next week.
We could have downloaded the RAWs and talked about those, but then we wouldn't know half
what was going on.
Yeah.
We're like, so the Rangers are fighting some sort of monster, and then they get in a robot and destroy the monster.
There's some imagination going on, and yeah, so... Let's talk about the episode we actually watched with subtitles.
Yeah.
So in episode 7, Pink, or Go-Go, pisses off Green by breaking his little ball and cup toy.
Yeah, his little thing that he uses all the time.
Yeah.
She pretends it's a pair of nunchucks, and then she ends up like busting a window with it.
Yeah, so she was watching too many ninja movies.
Mm-hmm.
And so, of course, this is a character-building episode where Green and Pink have to work together to defeat the bad guy because he basically made the rest of the Rangers lazy.
Mm-hmm.
He puts a stamp on their head, and they don't feel like doing anything after that.
That's like every day in my life.
That's you every day, just hanging out in your couch.
Every day. I'm just like, boy, I sure do need a stamp on my forehead.
Yeah. And, of course, Wagon uses the... situation to take selfies and to strike.
Yeah.
So that was pretty funny. I mean, this was a pretty straightforward episode too. They fight the monster, Green and Pink come together. They formulate a plan. They take down the monster.
Pink
They
is trying to get forgiveness from Green for, breaking his toy.
Yeah, and at the same time, Green feels bad for flying off the handle for something so insignificant.
Mm.
So it was a fun episode. I mean, I get that they're trying to build a relationship between these two characters. They're trying to make us care about Pink, and I still don't like her as a character.
Yeah, I still don't care for her.
Yeah, she's just kind of there.
I mean, while they're trying super hard to make us believe that there's something special about her, but it's just like...
She feels just very two-dimensional.
Like, really the only characters that I really like are, like, Red and Blue.
Yeah.
Like, they're really the only ones that stand out to me.
Yeah, they've developed more as characters, I think.
Which I think it's because they got, a lot of character development early on, so now they're, I don't know, trying to focus on the other characters that no one seems to like.
Yeah. I think Pink reminds me of Yellow from Bokenger, where she's like that innocent, kind of sweet character. She's got something special about her, obviously. But, I mean, I ended up liking Yellow a little bit more about halfway through the series in Bokenger. So maybe that's just what's going to happen with this.
Hopefully.
Or not. Yeah, or not. I mean, I really don't care.
Yeah.
Yeah, we don't have to like all the Rangers.
Or it'll turn into a Ghostager situation where I just hate everyone. Except Gosei Knight.
Yeah.
It's like, Gosei Knight's the only reason why that show is even watchable.
Yeah.
But that's a story for another day.
Yeah, we'll talk about that another time. So, it's a pretty straightforward episode. I actually watched this one right after watching Gaim, which is good because it made me realize this is a good chaser series.
Yeah.
You sit down and you think about Gaim so much, and there's so much character development and storyline, and it's nice to just sit back and watch a pretty simple and straightforward show. Has some comedy in it, so yeah. This is like that sweet chaser after you just take a hard shot of something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Speaking of Gaim,
Yeah.
let's talk about that.
Yeah.
Okay, so we are going to be talking about episode 26 and 27?
24 and 25. Close enough.
I was close. Whatever.
Yeah. We're about half.
It's been long.
It has. We're about at the halfway point now, too.
And I can almost kind of tell, but it's really hard because every episode has been like story, 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 and so in these episodes we get story, story, story. Yeah. Well, a little less in the second one, but let's talk about the others.
Yeah.
Basically, the first episode is devoted to them fighting the overlords and discovering, what they are, what they can do. You find out that the Green Overlord studied a book and then learned kind of broken Japanese. I was about to say kind of broken English, and I was like, nope, he's still speaking Japanese.
Yeah, we just get it subtitled in English.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it was really cool to watch.
Yeah, so you have Baron, fighting the overlords for his own reasons. He wants to gain power. And then you have Gaim trying to convince them to, hey, talk to Helheim Forest and tell it not to destroy our world. So you have two people doing the same thing for different reasons. We find out what DJ Sagara is all about. Yeah. He's got a lot of knowledge, and he spills some of that to Sengoku Ryoma and his little underlings, who have their own little plot going on. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, I mean, basically, they have to defeat or somehow get the forbidden fruit from the overlords.
Mm-hmm. They have to somehow get the forbidden fruit from Helheim Forest. And honestly, I don't think we've seen the last, or I don't think we know everything about Sagara. Like, he just said, he's an observer. I still say there's something more there.
Yeah.
Considering how he kind of, like, blinks from place to place.
Yeah, he's got that hologram thing going, so, yeah. So, then the second episode, a little bit more lighthearted, because we have Bravo in it. Yeah. So the whole thing with Bravo is Junoichi shows up in the show again, and he overhears the girls talking crap about him, and so he's depressed. And Bravo is going to be like, he's all like, I'm going to make you a man, and I'm going to put you through your paces, and that becomes a very funny, just training montage of Bravo being ridiculous.
Oh yeah, on the playground.
Yeah. So that's a nice contrast though from Kota, and he's still dealing with all the knowledge that he has and what he's going to do with it. and trying to save the world.
That's pretty much like what he's doing. He's trying to figure out the best way to save the world.
Yeah, and
And the episode kind of ends on a almost like a cliffhanger because Bravo finds one of the cracks because he is finally told by Junoichi that the beat riders and the armored riders, they're not the reason why the Invests are attacking, and so Bravo finally realizes that it's not actually their fault; it's from these other things, and so he discovers a crack and he jumps in it and apparently yells for a bit, and then the episode stops.
Yeah. We also have Mai asking Kota, to tell her the truth. She's tired of being in the dark. So that's going to develop into something probably too.
Yeah, it's going to develop into Michi yelling a lot.
Yeah.
Like everything happens. Something happens and Michi just yells about it.
Yeah. He's just so controlling now. You see in one of the episodes, you see the two sides of Michi, where he really likes Mai, and he's like, oh, don't worry about Kota. I'll protect him, and, I'll be there for him. And then the next scene, he's talking to his old rival that I completely forgot about,
Yeah.
And the rival's like, where have you been? You haven't been in school, I want to, compete with you, academically. And he's just like, you don't even know what it means, to have power and all this stuff. And he just looks down on him. So, yeah, Michi's definitely, going down a dark path. So, I think that's pretty much it for these episodes.
Yeah, they were really good. I enjoyed it. I love seeing more Bravo.
Yeah.
Can't wait to see more in the future. Okay, guys, so now we have come to the part of the show that everyone has been waiting for, our recommendation. And so I'm pretty sure you guys know what our recommendation is going to be because we've talked about it for the past, 2 weeks. Mm-hmm. So, it is, in fact, GARO.
Yep. Golden Knight GARO.
Mm-hmm. For those who are unaware, this series is about basically an order called the Makai Knights, and they protect the world against horrors. Horrors are basically just these monsters that prey on humans, and then, their blood is basically acidic, and, if it touches you, you also become a horror, so it's like this big werewolfy kind of thing, kind of a subplot.
Yeah.
And the whole thing is about a specific Makai Knight by the name of GARO. Well, that's his, his knight name. He's Golden Knight GARO.
Sejima Koga.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So his deal is basically he goes to fight a horror at an art display, and there's this girl there. And so during the fight, she ends up getting splashed with the blood of the horror. And so he's supposed to kind of keep his distance from humans. But he decides he's going to take her in and use her as bait. At least that's his story at first. He's going to use her as bait to lure out more horrors. But there's something going on there. A little bit of a love develops between the two. And so there's a bigger plot, afoot. There's just more story. I don't want to ruin it because it's such a good show. It's got, great action. This aired in 2002. So that's about the same time as Bokenger.
And but you can tell it's a bit dated with its special effects. The horrors are not very scary, but the fighting is phenomenal.
Yeah. Sometimes the special effects are really good. Sometimes it's so-so, but the action makes up for it. I remember there's a fight when GARO and Zero, who's like a rival / friend of GARO, shows up later. They're fighting, running down the side of a building.
Yeah.
And the building doesn't look that great. I mean, you can tell it's totally CG. The reflections are just bad, and it's not good. But there's enough action happening that you just forget about the crappy CG side of a building.
and you just think, oh man, they're fighting on the side of a building.
Yeah. So it's got a lot of style. Some good CG, some okay CG, passable. I mean, it is 2002 though, so for the time it was probably pretty good.
Oh yeah, it was definitely on par with other tokusatsu series. It's very mature. It's not as booby filled as the next entries in the GARO series, but it's created and directed by Keita Amamiya. And if you guys remember back about a month or so ago, whenever we recommended Mechanical Violator Hokkaider, it's the same guy. Mm-hmm. So that's why it's very dark, very intricate designs, and really fluid, awesome action.
Yeah, seems like every character in the show just kicks ass at some point.
Oh yeah, everyone has such. Man, I'm gonna have to rewatch the show now. Like this is just getting me right in my nostalgia-ness.
Yeah, I mean the martial arts are great.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like I mentioned, like I said, when the CG is not so great, the martial arts kick in. There's wire work. There's just a lot of cool stuff about the show happening. It's just great. I mean, it's a shorter series. It's only like 25 episodes.
Yeah.
So where Super Sentai and Kamen Rider, gets bogged down a bit with filler episodes, this is just a lot of story. I mean, it just keeps going at a good pace. I mean, they use those 25 episodes well. They obviously use the budget to do some good action scenes and some decent CG.
And so, I mean, it was awesome because obviously it spawned, like 3 or 4 different sequels, several movies, and I mean, we're still getting seasons of GARO, just focusing on different characters.
Yeah, and there's an animated series coming up. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, I mean, it's your hyper midnight drama, as they called it. A toku for older fans. So it's nice to see something a little bit different, too. When I watched this, I had been watching a lot of Super Sentai. And then I jumped into this, and it's just a whole different animal.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so, I mean, if you're looking for something different, if you've been watching Kamen Rider or Super Sentai, check this out. All right, and I think that's it for this episode. We finally fulfilled our promise to talk about GARO.
You're welcome.
Yeah, so I'm SentaiSeiya, Luis. You can find me on Twitter at SentaiSeiya, also on CollectionDX, talking about Super Sentai and Saint Seiya stuff. Next week is probably going to be Saint Seiya, so don't expect any Super Sentai reviews from me. And Josh, what about you?
I'm Josh Reed. You can find me on the website under the name Jmann. Find me on the Twitters under Jmann DX with 2 N's. And I'm going to have at least one Super Sentai review next week, so we'll at least get to talk about that.
Yeah, you better. Otherwise, you're fired.
Yeah. So, guys, if you want to send us feedback, we do have an email. It is powertoku@collectiondx.com. Feel free to talk to us, tell us how we're doing, ask us what you'd like us to cover. Basically, just give us your feedback. Yeah. Or you can, type it in the comments, tweet us, I don't know, yell, smoke flares.
Email. Yeah. Carrier pigeon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's all good.
Yeah. We recommended GARO this week because somebody asked us to talk about it. So let us know. Do you want us to talk about more GARO? We can talk about the next season. We can talk about something else completely different. So hit us up.
If not, we're just going to start choosing things that we like, and then you guys will have no idea what we're going to talk about each week.
Yeah.
Which could be pretty fun.
Yeah. Or we can just talk about GARO Season 2.
Yeah, we'll just talk for like the next year. All we talk about is GARO.
Yeah. Only Keita Amamiya from here on in.
Yeah, it's the Keita Amamiya hour.
Yeah. All right, so I think that's going to be it for the show.
Mm-hmm.
Right? We don't have anything else to talk about or plug or anything.
No. Wow. Weird.
Yeah.
Nothing else to plug. Nothing else to talk about. Looks like we are done with the show.
Yep. So thanks for joining us. We'll see you next week.
See you guys.